guys, it's Jasmine. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience as an Etsy seller slash my advice for people who want to open up their own shop on Etsy.com. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. I've had people ask me like what it's like to be an Etsy seller slash like if it's worth it, or basically like how did I even do it, because going from having a product idea to actually having paying customers and making some money off of it is like, you know, a little bit of a process. So I'm here to break it down for you. If you're thinking about selling on Etsy, 3 things I think you should think about first. Number 1 is, what are you going to sell? Because there are tons of things on Etsy. There's everything from like blankets, digital prints, tools or supplies to make things. There's endless amount of possibilities, so you really have a lot of options when it comes to Etsy. But I think for you to have a successful shop, you have to be clear on what your shop is all about. So I think even if you want to sell multiple items, they should all kind of be related somehow. Yeah. Okay, number 2, once you know what you're gonna sell, you have to evaluate your cost versus your profit. So back a couple years ago, I think 2 years ago now, I used to sell hand painted cards and art prints basically, and that did sell, but it wasn't really worth it on my end because you can only sell a card for so much. I wouldn't feel right charging more than, I don't remember exactly how much I charged for it, but let's say like $13 at most for a paper card. Now mind you, like I was painting all of them by hand, which is time consuming. That's something you need to consider, is even though you want to give fair prices, you also don't want to undercharge yourself, or else you're wasting time by not making good enough money to support how much effort you're putting into it. You have to consider what are the material costs, the labor, and the shipping expenses. If you have a really big item, are you going to be charging the customer to ship it? How much is it going to cost to actually package it? For me, I love selling stickers because it's so easy. I just put it in a little poly mailer and ship it off. I don't have to worry about wrapping it or protecting it. And then, yeah, nice and easy. And material costs are pretty low considering it's just literally paper. The last thing you really need to think about before you're like, yes, this is something I want to do, what do you want out of it? Are you expecting a full-time job? Like, are you trying to work on this 40 hours a week? Or do you just want a little side hustle going to make a little extra cash while you are focusing on a different full-time career? You really have to think about it, because if you are expecting a side hustle just to make some extra cash, like 100% I say do it, because I mean, it's really easy to be honest. But if you are expecting a full-time job where you're making like enough to live off of it completely, that's going to be a lot more challenging. And of course you can start out as a side hustle and then move into it full-time. But I think before you start a shop, you should be really clear with your goals of what your shop is. That'll really impact like how much time you want to put into it, if it's worth it, you know? So it's just something to think about. The pro of Etsy is that it's such a big marketplace. When people are thinking of handmade gifts, I think most people think Etsy.com. So having your product on the website is a plus, because you know, you can take advantage of Etsy's customers. But outside of that, it'd be smart to make an Instagram account, to share like with your friends and family, somehow get the word out there that you are opening your own shop. I post it on my personal Instagram that, hey, like on my stories, hey, I'm selling these, and then I'll have a link in my bio. Number 2, I have a designated Instagram for my shop where people can also buy digital prints as well. So even though you're selling on Etsy, it's really smart to branch out onto other social media platforms. Number 2 is actual production. So for me, like I said, 2 years ago, I would make each item by hand, which is very time consuming and not really worth it when you put in so much time and effort into an item and then get paid like, I don't know, like less than $10 for it. It's, I don't know, it's kind of a waste of time. So now I do it where I can spend time creating ideas and making new products, and then let's say 100 people buy it. It's really fast for me to print them all out and produce them that way. So think about efficient ways to produce products, and if it's something where it's really time consuming, you have to be able to mark up the price to make it worth it. So depending on the item, you may or may not be able to do that. In my opinion, I think people go on Etsy expecting to pay a little bit of a premium for a handmade item. So you don't have to sell it for cheap, but you don't want to be like ripping people off either, because one, that's not really fair or like ethical, and two, you're gonna have a really hard time finding customers if you're charging a ridiculous amount. So just keep that in mind. You can charge a little extra for it, but there is a limit to how much you can overprice something. Okay, and then you also have to consider the effort of shipping the item. So again, stickers, super easy to ship. I literally just put in a poly mailer, slap on the shipping label, which I get through Etsy selling app. So it's super easy, and then I just have my husband ship it off for me when he goes out. And you know, those blue like envelope, no, what is it called, those blue mailer, USPS mailers that are literally on like every street. It makes it super easy for me to just, you know, put it in and go. But if you are shipping larger items, it's gonna be more time consuming to wrap it and then actually packaging it, bringing it to the post office, waiting in line, dropping it off, blah blah blah. So just think about the actual shipping process too when you think about selling on Etsy. Okay, and then the actual cost of selling on Etsy, there's a 20-cent listing fee. So every time you make a new listing, when you publish it, it charges you 20 cents. And that one listing lasts for 4 months or until you sell it. So if you sell it within a day, to renew the listing, it's another 20 cents. And then every sale you make, there's a 5% transaction fee. So, you know, that adds up. So just keep that in mind when you're considering if it's worth it, slash when you're making your prices for your items. And then also consider shipping material costs. Pretty self-explanatory. If you need to get bubble wrap, if you need tissue paper, boxes, you want to give the impression that you have a professional shop and you want people to come back and to continue buying from you. And if you have cute packaging, that really helps. I put my stickers in like a pink poly mailer, so it's super cute in my opinion. But you know, you can do all kinds of things. And then also I like to put in a little thank you note and a little coupon in all of my packages, so the time and cost for doing that as well. Of course, these are all like optional. You don't have to like make everything cute, but it helps. And then also consider if you're gonna charge for shipping or if you're gonna pay for shipping yourself. Shipping might be an expense for you if you decide to pay it, so consider that when you're making your prices. I can't sit here and tell you whether it is worth it or not, just because it really depends on the item, your schedule, and what you're willing to put into your shop. And if you have an item that is super marketable and you think that people will really want to buy it, easy to produce, easy or time efficient, and you have the ability to create a profit off of it, if you can create a big enough margin, then definitely I think it's worth it. There's not many downsides to Etsy other than, you know, it does take a little bit of work. But in general, I do think it's worth it if you're willing to put in the effort. I will say I really appreciate Etsy's selling platform versus selling on my own. I mean, even though they do charge you a little bit for using their platform, it's nice to have everything organized in one website. And they do have apps, so I have it on my phone and my iPad, which I use all the time. So when I'm on the go, like when I'm not even thinking about my Etsy shop, I'll be like getting sales throughout the day, which is really nice because once you get your shop kind of set up and you have a little system going, it's pretty easy. especially if you have an item like mine where I don't have to be constantly working on it. It doesn't take that much time to produce each item. I just make extra side money with very little effort. So if you can think of an idea where it's just like a one-time, lots of expense or time, and then the actual product takes very little time or effort to produce, like that's gold. You're doing custom items, negotiating prices, unreliable buyers. That's like a whole nother topic. And I guess I can really get into that more if you guys want like a part 2 or 3 on this series on selling on Etsy slash making your own store. I think this is it for my advice on if you're thinking about opening a shop. So leave your comments down in the comment box below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more content. I post new videos every day, every weekday. Well, I try to. So until I see you guys next time, bye.